one. Hello. We haven't ever done this before. We are brand spanking new to this. It is exciting, isn't it? It's Emma Holmes at Coaching Rockstars, and I am joined by... Oh, it's working, look!
Oh, there we are.
I'm joined by the lovely Beckie Coupe today, and we're going to be talking social media. Would you like to introduce yourself to my wonderful page, Beckie, and my lovely rock stars?
Yep. Hi, everyone. So, as the lovely Emma said, I'm Beckie Coupe from Infinity, and I work with people to help them get to grips with this whole social media thing, but do it in a really enjoyable, nice, soulful way that doesn't feel at all forced or icky or frustrating or overly time consuming. That's what I want to help people with in all sorts of different ways.
Cool. Hi, Carol. Hi, Carolee. If you are joining us live, then please do pop into the comments, say hi, because we're going to talk about content on social media. We're going to talk about the sorts of things that are good to share on social media and how you can start to engage your audience. It's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's up there, the list of things to kind of, once you've cracked this, it makes everything so much easier.
It totally does. And I was just talking to somebody this morning about, how lots of people come into working online business, and they think that the hard bit is creating products to sell.
Yeah.
Actually, the easy bit. Because what's really difficult is to establish your brand, establish your platform, and to gather your crowd of people around you. That's the bit that takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. And building trust with them as well. There's no fast track to doing that, to getting people to not only know about you, but to trust in you enough to want to work with you. That can't be done overnight. So yeah, I definitely agree that that's one of the trickiest things.
Carolee, of course you can share, my darling. And I think I might just do more of these. I like this split screen.
That's nice.
Yeah, I like this having a conversation in real life thing. This is good. So I work with Beckie. Beckie helps me to have that second pair of eyes on my social media strategy. And she looks at what's been going on my platform each and every month. And it's really important for me because I sometimes get bogged down in what has and hasn't been a good month, don't I?
Yeah, and sometimes you can kind of write a month off and just say, oh, this month's been rubbish, my reach has been down, blah, blah, blah. And you miss the gems that are in there that have actually done amazingly well and give you something great to work on the next month. If you kind of just look at that overall reach number that comes up on Facebook, that dreaded number, and you see a downward arrow and you just think, oh, that was a write-off. It was rubbish last month. End of story.
So where would you start with somebody when you look at creating a content strategy? What do you start to think about?
Yeah, so it's all got to start with this whole ideal client, raving fans, whatever you want to call them. It's just basically understanding what your crowd want from you and what they need from you. And once you kind of, you put that at the forefront of your mind and you make sure all of your content comes from that place of understanding, it all becomes so much easier. That really should be the starting point, or the kind of, if you're kind of taking a bit of a reset on what you're doing right now, just go back to what you know about the people that you're talking to, go back to any notes that you've made, conversations that you've had, and think about what content can you deliver to them to help make their lives a bit easier, or to help show them that you understand what they're struggling with at the moment and things like that. So that's definitely the start, a good place to start.
One of the things that I would say is that the good, kind of the key point to bringing together a content strategy and a social media strategy is sharing stuff that your crowd give a shit about.
Yeah.
Stuff that's important to them, stuff that matters, or even frivolous stuff that they're into. I think that it can work from both sides. We don't have to be serious and professional all the time.
Yeah.
Nor do we have to be what I refer to as guff and fluff.
Yeah.
So how do you look at balancing that out? How do you look at thinking about the types of content to share, the types of things to do? Because we've got so many options now.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, really. You know, there were different kind of, I suppose, guidelines that you might see out there, like, should you have 80% talking about, you know, the actual business stuff, or, you know, whatever it is that you have to offer, and maybe 20% fun stuff? Can you put a number on it like that? And I feel like a lot of it comes more from you getting to know your crowd and what they understand and what they want. And you'll get a feel for what actually works. Sometimes you can be guided a little bit by the time that you post in. So, for example, with yours, we talk a lot about, right, what can we post on a weekend or in an evening when people are not necessarily down to business and they might just want something a bit more fun and light-hearted, or something to make them smile, or, you know, what can you post on a Monday to give them that starting point for the week, give them a bit of motivation or inspiration. So that can help as well, to kind of bring things together and give you that initial starting point as to, you know, when should it be fun, when should it be serious, when should it be advice, that kind of thing. Use a kind of a bit of common sense, I suppose, on your understanding of them. When are they online, and what do they want to hear from you at any one time? Because it's going to be different, you know, depending on time of day, day of the week.
I know that some people want this kind of blueprint, this strategic blueprint of what I post, that when, what time, what type of content, you know, whether it's video, whether it's image, whether it's text, whether it's pre-recorded videos, whether it's live videos, whether it's fun, whether it's serious, there isn't one, is there? No,
and I do come up with them for my business and for clients, and, you know, I teach it to clients as well, having an initial some kind of outline for the week. So I just have a chart with an idea of, so at this time on this day, it might be a top tip in a video form, but that's not set in stone. And I think that's the important thing. That's a starting point, so that I never sit down and look at a blank piece of paper and start trying to reinvent the wheel every single week. That is my starting point. But it's really important that you don't stick too rigidly to some kind of master plan, because it changes all the time, and otherwise it can get quite repetitive as well. People get a sense that, oh, it's the same thing on the same days at the same time. It feels a bit formulaic. So I know that probably sounds a bit like I'm complicated it even more, saying you can have a plan, but don't stick to it too much. But it is about finding that nice middle ground and balancing it between having something that guides what you're doing and keeps you on track, and going with the flow a little bit as well, and doing what feels right for your crowd at that time.
I'm very much into working. This again, we're going to talk about a bit of an oxymoron, working in the moment and working with what I'm guided to share, what I've heard, what people have been talking about, what people need help with, but also being able to get some of that in the bag so that it's scheduled. So I'm scheduling, but I'm also delivering stuff that matters in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's finding that balance. And sometimes doing one can feel easier than another. So some people gravitate towards doing it all kind of on the fly, and some people will gravitate towards having a plan and scheduling everything in advance, because it's just the different ways that we work. But when you can bring it together for yourself, a balance that feels comfortable for you, that does make a hell of a lot of a difference.
Totally. Kerry Lee's saying that she wants to get back onto a tarot reading and Soul Seekers business, but everybody wants it for free. So what I would say to Kerry Lee is that you've got to start with the serving the crowd, haven't you? And Kerry Lee, I go onto people's pages and I go on to, you know, free card reveals and card pulls and that kind of thing. But I also pay for readings. Just because I enjoy one doesn't exclude me from another, because it becomes personal then. And I think it's the same with any business that provides a service. People can come onto my page and they can, you know, jump in, they can dive in, they can get loads of stuff for free. But that doesn't stop them working with me. It's the same for you, isn't it? You're providing lots of social media hints and tips. You still get clients.
Yeah, I share so much, absolutely tons. And quite a long time ago, I stopped worrying about, am I giving away too much for free? I tried to be quite kind of kind of overly strategic, like, well, I can tell them this, but not this bit. And actually it sets you free when you just think, no, I'm here to serve people and to help them. And the people that love what I do and love the tips or the freebies or whatever I give on my social media pages, those people will still want to work with me and still want more from me. So again, when you realise that, that really is freeing.
Absolutely. And I don't have a formula or a test as to where I stop. If you need some help from me and it's a certain topic and you ask a certain question, you will get that answer.
Yeah.
And, I think that we can't hold back on that. And it shows our crowd that, one, that we care, mm-hmm. 2, that we're genuine, and 3, if you can go away and take that and implement it, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
Claire says, I'm trying to mix up what I post, when, and what platform. So what are your thoughts on cross-pollination automatically and cross-pollination as in sharing the same content on the same day on different platforms?
Yeah. So I'm not a massive fan of automation. There's a big difference between automating and scheduling. So I think that's an important point to make first. So scheduling is where you have actually sat down and looked at the content and decided where it's going to go and if it needs tweaking, and you just set a time for it to go out. And automation is where it just gets pulled through. You're not necessarily sure of when it's going out, and it's not tailored to the different platforms. So you can absolutely reuse and repurpose content for different platforms. In fact, I'd say it's a must, because it's going to be the same message, and you need to be making the most of all that lovely content that you're creating. But the platforms are different as well, so what works on one might not work on another. So you need to be just tweaking it, and there can be small tweaks, but tweaking it so that it looks fit for that platform. Because one of my big bugbears, I can't get it out, bugbears, is when you can obviously see that something has been cross-posted. So the example
posted on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. And I've done a blog about hashtags on Facebook recently, and one of the big giveaways is when something gets posted from Instagram over to Facebook and you've got 30 hashtags there, and you just think straight away that's come from Instagram. And it makes me start to question whether there's a real life person behind the page. And so from kind of an audience point of view, people might be reluctant to engage with you. Might be a bit wary. Yeah. So it's a bit off-putting. So I think it's better to take that little bit of time, repurpose things. And then if you're thinking about kind of when to share them, so do you share the same thing, the same platform at the same time? Just bear in mind that people might be following you on more than one. So you don't want it to become boring, or again, just look like you're regurgitating the same message. But you can space stuff out, by a week or two, and it's still, and by tweaking the text or the image or whatever it is, it still has a fresh feeling. But actually, that's a great way to serve your crowd, because what you're doing is reinforcing your message and helping them to understand it better. Yeah,
I think that I know we've discussed this before. The only time that I post the same thing cross platforms is when I release a new blog.
Yeah.
And that's just woohoo, brand spanking new blog. Here you go. Although I've released one today, I haven't even put it on Facebook yet.
But yeah,
today's too exciting and too busy. I have a book,
I know. But yeah, I think that's the exception that proves the rule. Obviously that's fresh and new and you want to say it right then and there. But then when you go to talk about your blog again, you can mix it up and post it at different times on different platforms. So again, it's just keeping it fresh.
Claire says, I need that knowledge to share. Claire, you've got that knowledge. And I tell you what, it's a cracking example of how you do really easy kind of posts is the phenomenon and awesomeness that is Buzzsprout, that lives with listicles. Everything's a list. 25 reasons why you know that you live in the Northeast, and 5 things that will only understand if you have done a tough mudder, or 7 ways that you know that you're a whatever. They're brilliant ways of doing really easy content. And I know that Claire is a VA, and you could do 5 ways to start off your day the right way. you could do 2 things to include in your newsletter. You could do 8 things to outsource to a VA. You know, there's lots and lots of really easy content that you can come by. So when you're thinking content, when you are thinking personal content, when you're thinking content for your clients, what are you doing? How are you capturing your ideas, or how are you even starting the process of gaining ideas?
Yeah, so I think it's all about bringing it into kind of your day-to-day life and not expecting to be able to sit down and come up with ideas like that. I have made that mistake of thinking, right, and, you know, so setting aside time for my social media or for clients' social media and expecting the ideas and the inspiration to come to me right then and there, and it just doesn't work. So what I do a lot of is just keeping notes as I go. For me, it's notes on my phone because they sync up with my laptop. So then when I sit down at my computer to do social media posts, I've got so many different ideas there. Sometimes they're just a couple of words. Sometimes it's a question that I want to ask people. Yes. I was just looking at how many were overdue then.
202.
Yeah.
3 reminders. One that's overdue is lunch, so I can let that go.
Oh, that's all right.
I have had my lunch today.
Yeah.
Expenses, lunch and Zoom are my overdues. 202 content ideas there. But yeah, you know, like you say, if I go, right, I am going to get in the bag all of my social media, I'll just sit there and go,
Yeah.
No
ideas
to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think that you can then very quickly get into that mindset of, well, who's going to listen to you anyway? What are you going to say? Why? And then, you know, before you know it, the self-taught fairy is sat directly on your creative brain, and you've got no chance then.
Yeah. And I think the other great thing to do that I like doing, you know, that the kind of mindless flicking that you do, we all do it, whether you admit it or not, through the Facebook news feed or whatever, through Instagram, wherever that is. But give that a little bit of a purpose as well. So I like to kind of keep an eye out for, well, what type of things are popping up again and again? Or if I spot something that's come up, especially if it's like from a page I don't like, or it's something that friends have liked, something I can see has got a lot of engagement, I'll try and think, you know, what is it about that people have enjoyed? And you can take a screenshot and come back to it later. And that's not about then copying it, but it's getting that feel for what is working, what are people engaging with, rather than trying to guess all the time and reinvent the wheel. So there's inspiration all around you, even when you're just having a quick flick through Facebook. There's inspiration there.
Totally. And what made you stop? What is it that made you stop in the news feed when you were flicking through? What is it that grabbed your attention? Was it a type of graphic? Was it colour? Was it a headline? You know, was it the use of emojis? There's so much that we can use now that can put a new dimension onto our social media.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So when I'm thinking about social media, I think about a number of different things. I think about humour. You know, I like to have humorous social media. I like to laugh. I like people to laugh with me, at me. You know, I like to have that element of frivolity at times, because I think that the world's a bloody serious place sometimes, and, you know, our news feeds can suddenly get filled with whatever's going on in the world that just can be quite heavy. Mm-hmm. I like to have humour. Motivation and inspiration. Education, hints, tips, advice. And, you know, most things fall into one of those categories. And when you look at how you mix that up, it then comes back to imagery, text, video. You know, I know that lots of people get to the point where they want to put all of their eggs in one basket because something worked well for them on one occasion. What would your advice be about that?
Yeah, so what I talk about a lot, whether it's with, you know, one-to-one clients in workshops, it's one of those things that I always bang on about, is presenting the same information in different ways. Because, yeah, you might find that... you still Yes, you might find that something like live video works really well for you in terms of reach, but actually not everybody likes to watch video. I know I'm one of those people that would much rather be able to scan through a text post because I want to pick out the key points. I want to know straight away whether it's worth me spending time on. And sometimes with a video, I'm thinking, well, it might be 15 minutes long and I've not got time to watch it, and blah, 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 blah. But a lot of people are the same. So different people, even though they're all part of your crowd, they want to access that content in different ways. And I think that eases your load as well in terms of creating content, because you can share the same message in lots of different ways. You can do it as a meme, you can do it as a top tip, you can then jump on and do a video, you can write a blog about it, you can present it in so many different ways. And not only does that ease your load, but I think it helps you to reach more people, even if that number that we get hung up on in terms of reach isn't what you'd like to see on each post. Actually, altogether, you're reaching lots of different people that if you just posted something as a video, other people might have missed out on it because they don't want to watch a video. Mm-hmm. So I think it's always important to keep that mix. Even if you see, you think, well, a text-only post with no picture, I've heard that that's rubbish, so I'm not going to do any of them. I'd say, whoa, a minute, because sometimes they can absolutely boss it in terms of reach and engagement. But also some people want that from you. And yeah, you might have less people see it, but are they more of the right people? We just don't know. So I'd always say try and keep a mix. You might have more of something than another, but mix your content up and present the same message in different ways.
I tell you what was an epiphany for one of my rock stars recently was that lots of people watch video without sound.
Yeah.
Without sound.
And I'm one of those.
Yeah. If hubby's sat doing something and I've got my phone and I'm flicking, if you've got subtitles, I'm staying. If you haven't, I'm going. But yeah. I don't subtitle all of my videos because I still want to create connection with people. But I think that it allows that opportunity for people that wouldn't normally watch, get a bit of help from you, and then hopefully next time they think about turning your volume on.
Yeah, definitely. And I, again, because I'm not a massive video fan, if I see subtitles, that helps me understand what the video is about before I go and press the audio. So it does stop me in my tracks. And I know that, if I watch it for a couple of seconds, I'm probably going to get a feel for what it's about. And then if I'm interested, I might watch it more. So it's capturing people as well. It's not to say that they won't listen. But yeah, the stats are as well that most people don't put the audio on. Yeah. Probably because they're busy doing something else when they're looking through Facebook.
Totally. Or you're around, other people, or you're out and about, or whatever it might be. Claire says, do you set aside time for researching content? Personally, I'm doing it as I go. I'm saving posts as I see them. I'm saving memes that I'm going to share from other people. So this is kind of the curation of content perspective. And sharing other people's content used to give you a little bit of a boost in terms of the reach that had happened on that post before you shared it, didn't it?
Yeah, you used to get kind of a bit of almost shared kind of credibility. So if that post had done well on their page, you'd get a little boost from it as soon as you post it. It's not so much the case anymore.
But I think that actually looking and saving as you go is a great way to do it, because I was just saying before we went live, wasn't I, that I was looking for some content to share because I was doing a video to show you how to ethically share other people's content. And I went into my news feed and I couldn't find anything worth sharing. I spent 5 minutes going through my news feed and I couldn't find a single thing worth sharing, which was like, so save it as you go. Facebook have got that great provision on the right-hand side of each post, little downward arrow, or is it dots on a mobile? Let me just...
It's always downward arrow, I think, for the save.
And you can save posts and you can go back and you can review all of your saved posts. So, do it as you go. Do it as you see stuff. Do it as you want to use. If you're inspired by it or if you want to go back and read it, use that save provision because it will save you stacks and stacks of time. So when we look at content and creation of content and curation of content, I think it's important to say that, yes, it's all about your clients. It also needs to be something that you feel is worthwhile sharing.
Yeah.
And I think that I often say less is more if more is shit. Would that be your view?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd much rather people posted less than try and fill silences. And I think that's the biggie, where you enter that panic mode of, I've not got anything to share today and I should be posting however many times, and then you just put anything out there. And it's not adding any value, and all that will happen is you'll get disheartened because you'll look at, the engagement or the reach, and it'll be rubbish because it's not the right content. So I'd rather you take the time and just take a breath and kind of regroup and then decide what you can put out there that's going to be awesome, than just throw something out there.
Totally. Reach or engagement?
Engagement all the way. So reach is the one that people get hung up on. How many people have seen the post, and organic reach is dead on Facebook, and it's one people get quite kind of turned off by. So if they're not getting the reach, then they want to give up, but it's not what's important at all. What you want is for people to be engaging with you, because the fact is you can have thousands of eyes on your post, but if nobody engages, then it's not hit the right spot. All it means is that Facebook's served it up to them. But when they take the time to engage, whether it's they've hit like or they've commented or they've even shared it, that that's an indication that, that you've connected with them with whatever it is that you've put out there. So that's a really important one, is engagement. And I think when you focus on improving your engagement figures rather than improving the reach, that's when you start to see really good results.
So social media strategy, long-term or quick fixes?
Long-term. I hate any kind of mention of, quick tricks and quick wins or hacks. And yeah, there is low-hanging fruit where you can do things straight away that, can help give you that boost. But overall, you should be focusing on that longer-term strategy, because otherwise you go through this kind of boom and bust where, and I was talking about it the other day on my page about it being a roller coaster, where for ages you're kind of working and you're pulling up the hill and it feels really difficult and you don't feel like you're getting any traction. And then all of a sudden it's like, woohoo, things are awesome. And you might have done something you've heard about or put a little hack into place and it's had a nice quick result, which is fab. It's a nice little boost. But then all of a sudden things drop down again. And so it's very much this boom and bust. So when you concentrate on your overall strategy, what you should hopefully find is that things just keep going on the up and up, and it's much more sustainable, and it just feels better as well, because it's exhausting when you've got all these ups and downs and you don't know from one week to the next whether anybody's going to be listening. We want it to be that steady growth.
I think that the fact is that your social media will continue to evolve, and it will continue to be updated, and it will continue to change, and you can't rest on your laurels, can you?
No. And the other thing I'd say is that if you kind of throw together a short-term strategy, so you come up with all these ideas, if I was to sit down now and write down a whole list of ideas for things I could do right this second with my social media, and I just throw them all into the pot, I'm not going to have a clue what's worked and what's not. So yeah, my stats might go up and then they might go down, and I won't know which bit of all those tricks and strategies and things that I threw in actually made the difference. And so you're back to square one. So it's much better to kind of take small steps and small actions, and then think about whether it worked, and then try something else on top and do it that way. So a gradual process rather than trying to dive in and just throw everything you've got at it.
I think that's totally right. What would be your, top tip for social media strategy right now that somebody could think about and take away and look at?
Oh, that's a hard one to think of, just one that I've not already mentioned. I think I'm going to have to kind of go back to what we were saying about content for one, and making it just a habit that you get into, where if you see something great on Facebook, save it and look at sharing it later. If you have an idea, even if it's just a tiny inkling of an idea, write it down and make a note, because then when you sit down to schedule and draft your social media posts, you can be a bit strategic about what you're going to post when, and hopefully you won't find yourself sat there trying to throw anything out there. So that does make a big difference when you just start getting into that habit. And it's such a simple thing that everyone can do as well.
It would be my top tip as well, you know, start to harness your creativity, start to grab your ideas, start to think about what you could share, and you know, you can start bringing together a list. And like I said, I've got 202 at the moment. There's 202 things saved in there, that some of them will be blogs, some of them will be newsletters, some of them will be social media, but I've got them. They're safe, and they're not just going to go pew.
Yeah.
So who would like to ask us any questions? I'm going to open up the floor, either me or Becki, or just one that goes out there for anyone. And, you know, pop your questions in. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Soulful Social Media as well, because we've got a program that we've worked on together to bring together a social media program. And it's not just about, you know, a strategy that will get you your head around social media. It's not just about the beginner's level social media. This is about creating your own bespoke strategy that will continue to evolve, that you will continue to get support with. We will continue to keep you up to date on the things that we're doing, the things that are happening on platforms, the things that are going on. This is about creating a long-term strategy to connect with your audience, to connect with your crowd, to increase that know, like and trust factor, to start to take people from being observers into really wanting to be part of your world, which therefore will increase your profits because it will help you to get more buyers. So Soulful Social Media is available right now. I will put the link in at the end of the broadcast because I'm not sure how to do it right now. So this is our first thought.
I've seen the box, but I didn't press it just in case we disappear. So let's do it.
Yeah, we'll see. But come on in, pop your questions in that you've got for us. Anything that you want to ask at all, social media related or otherwise, we will pop in and. I think I might just have done it. This works. Ooh. Has that gone in? Oh, it's come up on the screen. I don't know how that's happened. Let's see if I can pop it in the comments. Oh, here we are. I can pop it down here as well. Comment. There we go. I think that's worked. So if you would like to ask us anything, come on in. Give us a shout. Let's talk about it. I'm going to have fun now. Oh, where's that gone? Right, come on in, give us your questions. Can I share this on my page? Yes, absolutely, you can, Claire. Share away. We would be more than happy for you to share it out there. I can write anything I like here. Look. Ooh.
We're going to be using this all the time now, aren't we?
I can put naughty little messages on a live. So would anybody like to ask us anything? Does anybody want to go through anything? Anybody got any questions? Pre-record or Facebook Live, which is better, says Karen.
Yeah, in terms of kind of reach, engagement, they're both doing fab. So when we look at Emma's stats, it's one of the things that I always check for her every month, whether she should be doing, more of one than the other. And we generally find that they both do really well. So it's worth checking on your page. So have a quick look in Facebook Insights and see what works best for you. But yeah, in general, I'm finding that there's no difference. So it's good to have a bit of a mix of both.
I've got a little bit of kind of a little bit of a thought on this, in that I tend to find that Facebook Live is more engaging.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get more engagement if I come on live. People are going to talk back to me. We're going to have a little bit of a convo rather than it being one-sided. So what I tend to do is if I want to give you something, teach you something, give you something to think about, or if I'm going to be dead busy, then I'll do a pre-record. If I want to come on and have a chat and it's a subject that I want to create a little bit of a conversation with, then I'll go live.
Yeah, I think that's
my rule of thumb.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it based on what content you're doing. And you're right that some things you want people there and engaging, and that's when it works best. And other things, it's more about you kind of explaining something.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any difference in reach, as Beckie said, but obviously there are differences in engagement. So it is about you just feeding your way into it and doing both. You know, I'm not going to do one without the other, because there's nothing that we leave out of my strategy. There's no post types that are, no, we don't do them. We try everything throughout a month.
Yeah.
I want to know what face cream you use. I presume that's at me, not at me, at you, because I'm looking a little bit dark and dreary at the moment. So you must be youthful and gorgeous again.
I don't know that. It's because I've got a really, really bright light on me. I'll come off live and I'll not be able to see for half an hour. That's what it is. It's lighting.
Always say, yeah, good lighting, good lighting. Yeah. Anybody want to ask us anything else? Anybody want to go through anything? Anything at all? If you are watching after the event, if you're watching once we're off air, then please do feel free to comment. If you would like to ask any questions, then do pop into the comments. We will come back and have a look over them. I'll make sure that I'm checking them, and if it's something for Beckie, then I'll make sure that she's tagged into it and she can come back over and have a conversation with you, because we do return messages, we do talk back to people, because that's another one of my bugbears. Really pisses me off when people are seeking engagement from people and then don't talk back to them. What's that all about?
Yeah, and I see that so much. It's always seems to be the people that are desperate for the engagement as well. You know, it's a big goal of theirs. I want more people commenting and things like that, and then they don't reply to them. And it's not even just a politeness thing that, yeah, it's nice to acknowledge if someone's taking the time to comment. It's such a missed opportunity, because that is your opportunity to get into a conversation with your crowd and to get to know them, and for them to get to know you, and to make it much more of a two-way conversation. And so, I mean, some of the conversations that I have in the comments on my posts are just gold. Apart from the fact that I get to know my followers, it gives me so many more ideas for future content. And I always make a note of, you know, if they've told me this is what I'm struggling with, or this is a question, I'll make a note of it somewhere and I'll come back to it later. It's an absolute gold mine. So if you start getting comments on your posts, acknowledge them for a start, but take the time to have those conversations as well, because they're so valuable.
And it's just nice.
Yeah. Aside from anything else.
It's pretty nice. Yeah. We're on social media, and the clue is in the name, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
There's a clue there. And, you know, if you are going to open the doors to comments, please talk back to people. Even just acknowledge their comment. If it's not something that you would get into a conversation about, tick the like button. Yeah. And we can do reactions on comments, which is even...
Yeah, which is quite cool now that you can do more than just like it. But yeah, I think otherwise as well, people just won't come back anymore. So if they comment a few times and they don't get any acknowledgement, not even a like on the comment, like if you put yourself in their shoes, you'd just stop, wouldn't you? You'd stop bothering, because they want to have a conversation with themselves.
Can't be bothered to reply to me.
Yeah, just switch off. So
yeah, I don't want to know. So I am presuming that is all of the questions, and I would like to say it was lovely to do this.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Thank you for having your first time with me.
Ooh. Thanks for having me, Emma.
I think I'm going to do more of these. I think I'm going to maybe include a bit of a weekly interview, but she'll tell me whether or not that's a good idea soon when we get off. If you are interested in joining us on social media, it's going to be an ongoing program because we're committed to keeping them up to date with changes, with developments, with the stuff that we're doing. You're going to get 8 weeks live support, and then you'll get 8 weeks live support every time we do an intake after this one. So once you're in the group, you're in, and we will continue to look after you and care for you from a social media perspective. So go and check it out if you're interested. Have an absolutely awesome Tuesday. I've been on live twice today.
Busy bee today.
The excitement is just too much for me. And just before we go, shameless book plug.
Woo.
You might want to buy one. And if you want to go back into the posts, my last post on my page was the competition to win one. So if you want to get in there, then do that. And I need to go and cross-pollinate that competition over my other platforms. So have an absolutely blessed day, and I will speak to you really soon. And if you'd like me to, I might invite Becki back again because she's been a good girl.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye.